Hey everybody, here's a little video to cover some of the questions about my Cuben Fiber roll top bags. So I got a competition's roll top bag here just to do a comparison. They'll kind of explain what I'm doing. So one of the things I noticed with a lot of the bags, they have 3 rows of stitching on the top. It looks like the bag gets stitched over once and then 2 more rows hold the Velcro on. So what I'm doing with mine to make it simpler and put less holes in the Cuben fiber is I have a stitch here, but it's folded under, and then I have just one more stitch here. So when you look at the bag, you just see one row of stitching, and that's what it looks like. And the other row of stitching is hidden underneath this fold, so it's kind of like a French seam type of construction. So it's just less puncturing that is exposed and less exposure of the threads. Like, I can see why they might have done this to create some strength up here, but you're still getting 2 layers of Cuben fiber plus the Velcro. So I don't really understand the logic of this, because they folded it over once down to here, and then they stitched it, and then they seam taped it, but then they just come back and stitch the Velcro on it. So the fact that it's waterproof right here really doesn't matter if it's not waterproof up here. So it just seems like some unnecessary stitching. And then for these buckles, instead of this style, I've gone with a different style. So these are designed for like a paracord bracelet. They just have a single bar right here. Each one just has one single bar that the webbing is sewn around. And with this buckle system, this one has 2 bars. So it's designed to be an adjustable webbing. And since we're going for ultralight, there's no reason for that extra plastic bar in there. So you might as well just use the paracord buckles. So that's what I went with for my bags, the paracord buckles. I also noticed that these buckles are they're super flimsy. They're really thin. And these paracord buckles actually look like a little better quality. And to squeeze these in takes a lot more effort, and these things just, they just flop right in. And then for the stitching on these little gross grain loops here, instead of a box stitch like this, it's actually just a half box stitch, but I kind of think they did that on purpose because it's a Z. But instead of that, I'm doing a bar tack. So the reason for the bar tack is because if you do a cross section of the stitch, it kind of looks like this. It's considered a stretch, quote unquote, stitch. And when I pull on this, those strands can actually go like this a little bit. So this stitch can stress cycle a lot without failing. And this stitch is nice and strong. The only thing is, it's a whole bunch of, it's a straight stitch that has gone back and forth over. It's a straight stitch that has been gone over 2 or 3 times. So it's putting a whole lot of punctures in one spot. So if I was to pull on this right now until it failed, it would just fail right there at that stitch. Yeah, this stitching is strong, but it puts all of the load right there. So I think the bar tack is a little bit better. Either way, it's plenty strong. If you're going to be putting 50 pounds of weight in this, you're probably overloading it anyways. But that's just why I went with the bar tack. And it also lets me use a smaller section here, and it kind of gives this a little bit of flexibility. It lets it open up. Whereas with this one, the stitch is right tied up against there. And also the curved paracord buckles, when this is rolled up, you really don't notice this unless you got a lot of stuff in your bag. But with the curve of the buckle, I think it makes a better setup because it kind of goes with the natural curve that tries to happen in the bag. And when the bag is stuffed, you kind of get a nice little gap right here where you can hook your finger. And just having the curvature of the buckle, in my opinion, works better than the straight one. Oops. I mean, it's not a really big deal, but just having that little curve, I think, makes it end up look better. It kind of gives it more of a natural circular instead of just a tight. Especially if these bags are loaded full of stuff, you get this tight 90-degree right here, and with this you got kind of a little curve. I think that works better. And plus that buckle's lighter anyway, so it's just kind of no-brainer to use this buckle instead of that type. And last but not least, I'm not putting tabs right here to open this up because the Velcro that is used on this, it's not super strong, so this comes apart super easy. And one thing I didn't like with these tabs right here, maybe the material should just be thinner, but when you roll this up, it creates this big bulk right here and makes the roll, it kind of just makes the roll not roll up straight. And you really gotta like be a little more forceful with it. And you see what it's doing right now is it's trying to go this way. It's because I'm not managing that bump of fabric in there just right. I mean, it's still going to seal up and be waterproof. But see what it does? It tries to not roll up perfectly straight. And without that big hump of fabric in there, this has a nice linear fold to it. And I think it'll actually seal up with a fewer number of rolls when you do it this way, because it's not lifting this up. This drawstring on here is good stuff. It looks like the mil-spec nylon, so it's plenty strong, but it just adds a lot of bulk to that roll. So it's like you folded up a piece of fabric and shoved it in right there, and it's opening the roll up. So I would rather just have the roll be nice and uniform like this than have that hump in there. I might put tabs on here, but I will use Cuben Fiber. I'll fold it up and make Cuben Fiber grab tabs, because I don't like having just all that fabric crammed in that one spot. It really, when this bag is rolled up and stuffed with stuff, you can really tell it just opens it up, and it looks like that would be the place where water would enter. And so maybe the tabs are necessary, because you do kind of stress the Cuben Fiber out when you open it by grabbing the bag. I guess you could stress the Cuben Fiber out right here. It is a full 2 layers underneath there, but I don't know. That's yet to be determined. But it's definitely going to be, it's definitely won't be four layers of the mil-spec stuff. It'll be something thinner, or it'll be Cuben Fiber. Alright, that's it for now. I hope that answers some of the questions. Thanks, everybody.